Follow me.
Welcome to the Ugly Radio on the Podmoth Network, a lo-fi sci-fi audio theater anthology series made for late nights and strong drinks. Join us monthly as we broadcast a pirate signal across time and space, featuring stories, songs, and frequencies from a rotating list of voice actors, writers, storytellers, and musicians. If you're looking for high-quality science fiction, skin-crawling horror, and other genre fiction, listen to The Ugly Radio on the Podmoth Network, now available wherever you get your podcasts. The Ugly Radio. See you in the void.
Find other great podcasts like this one at podmoth.network.
Hey, what's up, you guys? I guess I'm Kathryn.
And I'm Hayley.
And we are Saturdays for the Ghouls,
a Podmoth podcast.
We are excited that you've joined us today. Joined us for our spooky week. Spooky. What? She just goes spooky. Today, we are going to talk to you about childhood show conspiracy theories. Dark theories about your favorite childhood shows.
Mm-hmm. There's so many.
There are so many fluttering the internet, and they're just honestly bullshit. Like, we know that. It's just, in my opinion, kind of fun to think about. Unless they've been sincerely, like, proven by, like, the creator, I don't believe them.
Mm-hmm.
So.
First of, like, 20. I have the Flintstones.
Flintstones, meet the Flintstones. Oh, I don't want to get copywritten. Is that copywritten? Probably. What? What is your theory about the Flintstones?
The theory is that they are actually in the future.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Not the past. The future. So apparently they did a crossover episode of Meet the Jetsons.
Just the Jetsons.
Or the Jetsons.
Yeah.
But they did a crossover episode with the Jetsons, and the Jetsons are like a futuristic family, right, supposedly. And there's a theory. I guess there's an episode where the son Elroy, he builds a time machine, and they want to go into the future, but there's like technical issues, because of course there was,
right.
And when they get out, they're in bedrock, like in the Flintstones. So Elroy's explanation was they went so forward in time, they went to the very beginning of time. So it's like a circular, right. But the theory goes is, what if they're just in a post-apocalyptic, like super in the future, like starting from the bottom, now we're here kind of thing.
Yeah.
And that's why like the dinosaurs talk.
Right.
So
I also ran across that one, and I think another theory said that they're in the same
like universe,
like, and it's because, and like the Flintstones are part of like a colony of people who are rejecting like all of the futuristic parts of like things moving forward.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that's like also the same. Like, I don't know. I don't know if that's another one, or just like, like I was looking at a lot of them, and they're like different versions of everything. So like, anyway. So
I saw that one too. It was like the Jetsons are like the rich people, right, and they're up in the sky, living in the sky.
Right.
And then the Flintstones are like the poor,
right,
people, which is like have you seen the movie Astro Boy?
No.
It's basically that
Yeah.
same theory. Like the Earth was becoming, or the ground was becoming uninhabitable,
Oh.
and so these rich people basically made a floating city.
Oh.
So, yeah, and then like all the poor people are on the bottom.
Wow.
On the ground, on ground zero.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to do another one, or do you want me to go?
You go.
All right. So the one theory that like triggered this whole thing for me, like when I first heard about like dark theories about childhood shows, is the Rugrats theory. And
what is the Rugrats theory, Kathryn?
What is the anyway? So the Rugrats theory is that all the babies are figments of Angelica's imagination due to schizophrenia. Her real mom supposedly in this theory. Her real mom actually died shortly after she was born because she was a drug addict. And her dad remarried to Angelica's now mom, who is a gold digger and like only likes, fancy things. And Angelica idolized that woman and convinced herself that she actually was her mom. And then she made a Barbie doll in the likeness of her real mom, Cynthia, which is why her hair's all messy and like her clothes are all dirty because her mom was a drug addict, and that's like how she remembers her mom. And that's why she's so attached to that doll. And here are the stories of how these kids like came to be figments of her imagination. So like all of the parents are all friends, and so there is really like all the parents. And so Chaz, who's Chucky's dad, Chucky died with his mom in the car accident, and that's why Chaz is always anxious and nervous. Tommy was a stillborn, and that's why his dad is trying to invent toys to try to cope with his son's stillbirth. And Phil and Lil's parents actually had an abortion before they knew the gender, and so that's why there are twins, because Angelica didn't know if it was a boy or a girl, so they just made twins. And then Kimmy, Chucky's stepsister, when Chaz remarried to Kira in the Rugrats Go to Paris or whatever, Kira was actually a prostitute and a drug addict and got Kimmy taken away from her. But she told Angelica all about Kimmy, which is how she's represented in the show. Kimmy is her representation of what Kimmy would be like. And the only baby that was real on that show was supposedly Dill Pickles. And
the baby.
The baby, yeah. And Angelica couldn't tell the difference though between Dill and the other babies, and so she would get really frustrated that he wouldn't like disappear and like go away when the other babies did, and so she hit him on the head. And when she hit him on the head, like his brain hemorrhaged and he has a skull deformity, and if you look at him and all grown up, he's like even when he was a baby, his head like goes in on the sides, Anyway, and so this is expanded in the all grown up like spinoff when he wears like really weird clothes and talks about really weird stuff, like he's has some sort of brain issues from when he got hit in the head when he was a baby. Which to me is honestly a stretch. I really just think that Dill likes to talk about weird things. Obviously, this is all very much of a stretch. And then Susie, who was the only other like toddler Angelica's age, she was her actual only real friend, and she entertained the creations that Angelica had made just to make her happy. But there are also some versions of the theory that Susie became a psychologist when she grew up and worked with Nickelodeon to release Rugrats, which I'm sure, I mean, it's obviously bullshit, but I was like, when I read that, I was like, okay.
They really stretching.
Right. And so then for the spinoff, All Grown Up, she became addicted to drugs that aggravated her schizophrenia and brought back her hallucinations from when she was a child. And so due to the past time, she obviously made them older to be like in middle school or high school. And she continually kept using drugs, supposedly to make sure that her friends never leave. And then at the age 13, when she was 13 and All Grown Up was canceled, supposedly that's when Angelica died from an overdose.
What the fuck?
Like that's the long drawn out version. The short version is that all the babies are a hallucination of Angelica's, but like they went into detail, and I'm just like, well, it's getting a little far fetched, but
That's crazy.
yeah.
Let's see. This one's kind of a quickie. It's literally one word.
Okay. One word.
Well, the theory.
Okay.
So, you know Ed, Ed, and Eddie, right?
Yes.
I'm sure you know this one.
Yes.
Because I've heard about this one too. But apparently, the universe is a like purgatory.
Yeah.
And like all the kids are dead. Like that's why there's no parents or anything like that.
Yeah.
But like all the kids, they all died at like different years.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why some of their like interests in the show are the way they are. Like the thing that I saw was like Ralph died in 1903. That's why he likes animals or something like that. And I was like,
why does that make him
why?
like animals?
That makes no sense. And then Ed, the really dumb one, he likes comics, which apparently means he died like right after World War II, because that's when comics first started coming out. And he's like, I was like, oh, okay. And then the other one, the ringleader,
Yeah.
I think that's Ed.
Ed and Eddie.
Well, because there's Ed, and Eddie, and I think it is Eddie.
I honestly wasn't allowed to watch this show.
It's weird.
So.
But the one that's like money hungry, the leader,
Okay.
the leader one, the short one,
Mm-hmm.
He apparently died in the Great Depression.
Oh, because he liked money.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, okay.
I feel like that one makes the most sense out of any of them.
Yeah,
but
yeah,
that's weird.
But I was like, that's. But yeah, that was basically it.
Yeah, I read that one when I was looking at my research, but like when I started reading like into it, I was like, I don't understand any of this because I never watched the show because I wasn't allowed to watch that show. Anyway, there were a lot of shows like this that I wasn't allowed to watch. Like we had blocks on like Nickelodeon and Disney, and so like I had to like get a code from my parents to watch certain channels like that. So like I wasn't allowed to watch all of this stuff like when I was 10, but anyway, I thought Ed, Ed and Eddie was kind of loud and annoying.
Yeah.
In my opinion, I felt it. And it was like a bunch of like fart jokes or like, you know, I felt like it was such a boy show. Like I didn't care about like the jokes on it. I don't know. Sorry if you stan Ed, Ed and Eddie. But you're wrong. So
But you're wrong.
Okay, so my shortest one is my is probably the most recent TV show. Yeah. And it's actually not a comic, not a cartoon. It's iCarly, and in short, Crazy Steve from Drake and Josh.
Yeah.
Supposedly lost his sister Carly, like she died. And he was working at the movie theater and he met Drake and Josh and eventually Megan and found out that Megan looked a lot like Carly. So supposedly he murdered Drake and Josh and kidnapped Megan and turned her into Carly. Even so much so that Carly's best friend Sam from childhood thought she was Carly because she looked so much like her. And so he changed his name to Spencer and all this stuff and created iCarly basically.
I've heard that one.
And I'm like, that's I don't know.
I mean,
you never know.
Yeah, that's true.
I guess I couldn't find any information on if it was debunked or not. I do have ones that are officially debunked by the creators, but I don't know.
I have heard that one before. I was like, oh.
Oh.
Another one that I have. It's a lot of these are really sad.
They're all sad
if you think about it.
I guess that's why they say they're like gonna ruin your childhood.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, so yes, mine's about Charlie Brown, and apparently, Charlie Brown's whole life does not exist.
Yeah.
It's all in his head because he's trying to imagine, a normal, happy life. Because he is unfortunately dying from cancer.
Which is why he's bald.
Yeah, which is why he's bald. And it's just really sad. Really sad. I was like, oh, no.
I think the majority of all of these theories is that it's all made up into someone's head.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
I think my next one is like that too.
Right.
Which it can be tied into one because they're so short.
Right.
But, yeah, apparently, so yeah, the Charlie Brown one. And also, did you ever watch Saved by the Bell?
Yes.
That's another one. Apparently, Zach Morris is, not really popular. It's like everything's in his head.
Right.
And it was something like the title meant, so Saved by the Bell, so he was saved by his like alarm clock or something from waking up.
Yeah.
Or it was something like that. And I was like, what? Okay. But yeah, I always wondered that because I was like, why does he hang out with the cool kids? But like he's very much picked on by Slater and like everyone else.
Right.
So and like his best friend is Screech.
Right.
So I'm like, honestly, Zach Morris is an asshole.
True.
Like, I haven't rewatched them, but like some clips that I've seen, I'm like, I used to think he was hot and like a good person,
right?
but yeah,
yeah. I didn't really watch Saved by the Bell. It was on one of those channels I wasn't allowed to watch.
Dang, even what was it? It was like ABC Family, I think that it was on.
Yeah.
Couldn't even watch ABC Family.
Well, Saved by the Bell was originally not on ABC Family.
Oh,
it was like when you watched Saved by the Bell, it was on ABC Family, but originally it was probably on like at like nighttime on Disney or Nick. Something.
Probably. It was always on at like 7 a.m.
Yeah,
like
but
6 or 7 a.m.
Right.
That's why I was watching it because my dad liked that show, and it was also when I was getting ready for school. I almost said work. Getting ready for school.
Is it my turn again?
Yes.
Okay, so we'll do the one that we both actually have on our list, so we can both talk about them.
Fairly Odd Parents.
Fairly Odd Parents. So I have 3 different ones. So the first one is that Cosmo and Wanda supposedly represent Timmy's antidepressants, Zoloft and Prozac, and they help him with all his problems. But serious issues happen when he quote unquote abuses their magic. So like takes too many, and that's when the bad stuff happens. And then the second one is that Timmy is pretending that his goldfish is basically just a kid playing pretend with his goldfish. So like his grandparent, I saw a bunch of different versions of this. Either his grandparents or his godparents or someone who, 2 adults that truly understood him, died. And then the parents that he is currently with are his foster parents, which is why it seems like they don't really care about what he wants and stuff and leaves him with the babysitters all the time. And so he's using his goldfish and pretending that they're his fairy godparents, because then he can get wishes and stuff. And Vicky, who abuses him, he's afraid to tell anybody, and so he doesn't. And his fairies comfort him and help him. And due to the fact that all of his wishes are in his imaginations, that's why none of the like repercussions of his wishes are long term or long lasting. They all go back to normal afterwards. And then Mr. Crocker actually has made a lot of sexual advances toward Timmy, and so that represents and he's trying to He's trying to take away his fairies, which kind of represents. I'm sorry, kind of represents taking away his innocence and joy and all that stuff. And then the last one is, to me, the most far-fetched one, is that Timmy Turner and Danny Phantom are the same person. It's kind of a crossover. So they say they say one of the two reasons is either Timmy wished to never turn 13 so he wouldn't lose his fairy godparents, and so he became Danny Phantom, or he wished to be someone else altogether and he turned into Danny Phantom. But like, other than that, there was kind of far-fetched, like the reasoning behind they do look very similar, Timmy and Danny, but they were drawn by the same person, I'm pretty sure, or the same team. So that's probably why.
Danny Turner.
Yeah. Timmy Phantom.
Timmy Phantom. Yeah, those I had the first two.
Yeah.
I was like, oh God.
I know. The second one, I was like, ugh.
Okay, so this one I have, it's a take on two shows technically.
Okay.
Because it's another like crossover one.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess Nickelodeon had one, and so did Cartoon Network.
Oh.
But Samurai Jack.
Mm-hmm.
So there's two theories. So one theory is that Samurai Jack is in the same universe as Powerpuff Girls.
Okay.
So Samurai Jack is in a supposed post-apocalyptic Townsville.
Mm-hmm.
Or the other theory is that Samurai Jack is Professor Utonium.
Oh. Okay.
And I was like, all right. I mean, I guess they look kind of similar, but again, they could be from the same like writers.
Right.
Because they both have the same like animation style.
Yeah.
Did you know that one?
No, I never watched Samurai Jack. I barely watched Powerpuff Girls.
Powerpuff Girls.
Anyway.
Yeah. But,
I know. I had a very strange childhood, so.
And you still got trauma. Wow.
We all got it.
Wait, your turn.
Oh. Okay, so I also am doing a show that I've never seen one full episode of. Sorry.
Oh.
So The Simpsons. This is not quite a child cartoon.
It's on Disney Plus. It's fine.
There we go. Okay, so I have two. I only wrote down two. There's like probably 20
Jeez.
different theories about The Simpsons. So what I really wanted to talk about is The Simpsons telling the future.
Oh my God. Yeah.
But honestly, that was such a rabbit hole to go down and like spiral down. Not possible.
That would be a whole episode.
Could be a whole episode about The Simpsons.
Well,
anyway.
Foreshadowing.
So there are two theories for The Simpsons, though. So there's one theory that's every member of the Simpsons family are geniuses. Not just Lisa, who's the only one who ends up utilizing her, smarts and abilities. Marge was actually an excellent student, but chose family over pursuing more education. And in the episode HOMR, Homer gets a crayon removed from his brain and he's a genius, but he decides to have it reinserted back into his brain so that he's the same as his friends. And then even Bart is a genius, but he prefers a simpler life of they said in the article I read debauchery, and I'm like, okay. But he just thinks it's more fun to have, to be Bart Simpson.
The hooligan.
Yes, the hooligan. And then the other theory for The Simpsons is that Homer is in a coma. Sorry. Homer is in a coma. So in 1993, there was an episode called So It's Come to This, a Simpsons clip show. and a vending machine falls on Homer and he goes into a coma. After that episode, there was like a shift in the rest of the episode. So it went from boring and mundane kind of plots to like surreal and different kinds of like plots in like, you know, all of the weird things that happen in The Simpsons now. And there was an episode prior to that episode called Homer the Heretic, and it ends with an exchange between Homer and God. And so Homer says, God, I got to ask you something. What's the meaning of life? And God says, Homer, I can't tell you that. And Homer says, come on. And God says, you'll find out when you die. And Homer says, I can't wait that long. And God says, you can't wait 6 months? Well, the episode where he went into a coma was exactly 6 months after that episode released.
Whoa. My
You're
mind
welcome.
is blown.
So, that's the Homer's in a coma theory.
Dang. I didn't know that one. Man, all yours are like so like mind blowing to me, and I'm just over here like
I tried to steer clear from Scooby-Doo. I think I already knew the Winnie the Pooh.
I didn't even write a Scooby-Doo one down.
You told me you were going to.
I know. Okay, so let's do it. So Winnie the Pooh.
Mm-hmm.
That's another one that's like kind of big, but
yeah, this is another one I heard when I heard the Rugrats one.
Yeah,
is the Winnie the Pooh one.
So the theory is the characters in Winnie the Pooh are mental disorders, or they all have mental disorders, or psychiatric disorders as they called it, or something.
Mm-hmm.
But Pooh has it was like impulsive and obsessive disorder. I think that's what I wrote down. Impulsive with obsessive fixations. But yeah, so like when Winnie the Pooh eats and eats and eats and eats, and they're like, "Oh, my tummy hurts.
My tummy hurts.
Oh, bother.
Oh, bother." Side note before we go on, my janitor at my school sounded just like Winnie the Pooh.
Another side note. We, in my elementary school, middle school, we had this photographer, and he had this Winnie the Pooh stuffy. And it was really small. And in order to get kids to laugh, he would like wiggle Winnie the Pooh's butt. And he'd be like make weird noises or whatever.
Oh,
and like
it
sounds gross now, but it was like the only thing that could make me laugh and smile. I thought it was so funny.
That's weird.
He would like hold it by like the little feet and like move his little butt. And this is so cute.
It's because you were watching horror movies at 10 years old.
Probably. But yeah, and then Piglet. Piglet is just anxiety.
No.
And then where'd it go? Tigger is ADHD.
Mm-hmm.
Owl is dyslexic. Rabbit is OCD, and Eeyore,
sad boy,
is depression.
Yeah.
Who would have thought?
Who would have thought?
So there was a added theory that like maybe Christopher Robin is like the therapist, and Christopher Robin is like making characters based off of his patients.
Oh.
And I was like, oh.
I always thought it was Christopher Robin had all of these kinds of things,
mm-hmm.
and he was portraying them in his stuffies. But it's the same thing. I mean, honestly, but still.
Oh, that one was cool. I guess on similar topic on like where each character has like something associated with it. SpongeBob SquarePants.
There are so many SpongeBob theories.
Yeah.
So many.
I have 2 in my brain right now.
Mm-hmm.
The first one is that each character represents a sin.
So Mr. Krabs is greed, Squidward is wrath, Pearl is lust, Patrick is sloth, Plankton is envy, Sandy is pride, and Mrs. Puff is gluttony. So it says only SpongeBob's friends. So SpongeBob is not one.
Oh, okay. And the other one is that all that Bikini Bottom and everyone that lives there is just a creation of a
A nuclear bomb.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like,
and then there's another theory that the Krabby Patties are made of crab.
oh yeah, because it's a crab trap.
Yeah.
The Krusty Krab is a crab trap.
And one time, Mr. Krabs took a bite of the Krabby Patty and goes, "Oh, that's what I taste like."
Oh yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. And then he's like the only crab.
Mm-hmm. Him and his mom are the only crabs in the whole place.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And then the chum bucket.
Yeah.
Because if people who don't know, the chum is just a lot of leftover. It's like all the guts and like fish heads,
right,
that you throw into the water to like
attract more,
attract like sharks and
Yeah.
stuff. So that's why no one goes to chum bucket.
Yeah.
And then I think the secret ingredient is crab.
Yeah, I think so. My next one is Jimmy Neutron.
Bark, bark. Did you watch that show?
Yes.
Oh, yay!
I watched that show. I watched SpongeBob. I was not allowed to watch SpongeBob, but I watched SpongeBob. I watched Fairly Odd Parents, Rugrats, Hey Arnold. Anyway.
Arnold.
Anywho, so this one's Jimmy Neutron. So supposedly, and I took this as a quote from the article I read, Jimmy, Carl, Sheen, Cindy, and Libby are all genetically engineered children that are given a certain superpower and then implanted with a fake family to cultivate it. So the whole town is made up of government actors, which is why they don't bat an eye when they see a kid riding a rocket to school.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole city is a testing ground for the government. And that's why when Jimmy shows his inventions, they're showed for one time in the episode. And then after that, they're never seen again in the future episodes because the government takes his inventions to like test. And so basically Retroville and all of the children's adventures are secretly staged development grounds for Jimmy's inventions. That's a quote. And then, quote, the whole show is a documentation of Jimmy and his friends unknowingly testing gadgets and abilities that will be obtained by the United States government.
Wow.
Dum, dum, dum.
Dum, dum, dum.
But this theory was completely and utterly debunked by the actual creator of Jimmy Neutron. He said that this is not true. So.
Good. I'd have been like, they let him keep Goddard?
Yeah, I know. That's the one thing.
I love Goddard.
No.
So my next one is Courage the Cowardly Dog.
Woo!
This is one of my favorite shows as a kid.
Yeah. I heard there are a lot for this one too, but
I only heard one. Or just different versions of it, I guess. But
yeah, I think it could be just that there's different versions of the same one, but
but there is a theory that the monsters in the show are not real at all. Because the show is from Courage's POV. And so we're like, well, we don't know what a dog sees, really. So from a dog's point of view, the monsters are just like normal people.
Right.
And he thinks he's protecting his humans from them. But they're actually not really monsters. I was like, oh, that's weird to think about though. Like if you think about it, because of all the shit that happens, like,
yeah, but I mean, I guess that is what I mean. A dog does think that strangers are monsters.
Stranger danger.
Yeah.
I mean, but like, what strangers actually kidnapping your loved ones and trying to turn them into candy?
True.
Or a bug.
Yeah.
Big bugs, or the what is it, like the Greek god duck that came from the sky
Yeah.
and fell in love with Muriel.
Right.
And but then he falls in love with Eustace's truck because he heard the
Oh yeah,
horn.
honk honk.
Honk, honk.
So my last one is Hey Arnold. So this theory is also has been debunked. But the theory is on the premise that the whole show, Arnold believes that he's an orphan, but really he's the child of Gertie and Phil, who are his grandparents in the show. But they're actually his parents, and because they are so old, he was born with disabilities or defects, birth defects. And so there was one birth defect called hydrocephalus, and that would be the shape of his head being a football.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's Arnold Chiari syndrome, which is due to the shape of his head. It causes brain function issues, and like, you know, he can have headaches, makes him dizzy. So and apparently Arnold is very bullied and stuff, so he's created a kind of an imaginary world, which is the show, with imaginary friends, which is why they all have kind of weird shaped heads. And then but this was pretty much disproven because in the movie Arnold is reunited with his parents.
Oh,
I've never seen the Hey Arnold movie, but
me neither.
So yeah, hopefully you enjoyed the episode today. If you have any spooky stories, you could always send them to us on Instagram or Facebook. Saturdays are for the Ghouls. Also, we're on TikTok, Saturdays for the Ghouls. We haven't posted there for a long time.
A hot minute.
It's kind of hard because we're not always together.
Especially no.
Anyway, and then we're on Twitter for the Ghouls.
We're on YouTube now. You didn't say YouTube. You want to be on YouTube?
We're on YouTube, Saturdays for the Ghouls. If you'd like to hear us in a different form, you're still not seeing us, so it's not like a video form of the podcast, but maybe soon.
Our channel is just like our channel profile is just us like
with a thumbs up. But yeah, so please send us your spooky stories or odd stories or weird stories or any kind of stories that you'd like us to read. And for Campfire Week, speaking of, Campfire Week is next week, and we are going to be reading you some stories from, actually, they're stories that are submitted from an actual author. We're going to have like an authored campfire, so that's going to be fun. And then, anyway, so, spooky babes, remember to squeeze the day.
Squeeze the day with your lemon pants.
You matter to us.
Yes.
And we believe that the world's a better place with you in it, and we will see you
in your nightmares.